Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Rules of Engagement. As always, I'll be your host, Nick, axslav, ranish, as we explore tactics and strategies used in the game of Starcraft 2. Today, we're going to take a look at the semifinal match of the Winter Exhibition Tournament between Thorzain and CJ Hero. Of course, this was a best-of-5 series. We're going to take a look at games number 1, 2, and 3. Then after those, there's going to be the viewer Q&A. So any questions you have, tweet them to me at axslav on Twitter or leave them in a YouTube comment under the latest Rules of Engagement YouTube videos, all found at youtube.com/official MLGSC2. So starting off in game number 1 between Hero and Thorzain, a couple things I want to talk about are the general Protoss mid-game mentality of a good Protoss and the mentality you should have approaching the mid-game versus Terran. Then the same side from a Terran perspective. And then also, at the end, we're going to talk about some TVP micro and the key things to focus on in microing those larger scale engagements. So we're going to jump to replay. We're going to start off at the 8-minute mark. Fairly standard builds from these players. If you want to, learn the exact build, you can catch the whole VOD on our YouTube channel. Just, search for Hero, search for Thorzain. You'll find some great games to copy the builds. But here what we're going to talk about is the mid-game mentality of these players. So first, we're going to take a look at this from a Protoss point of view. The Protoss mid-game mentality has got to be very reactive. If you're not going for a 2-base timing, that means you're not going to do a big gateway bust or whatever, then you have to be extremely reactive. So what you want to do is you want to scout, use this observer, get through their base. You want to scout how fast is the Terran third base? How fast are their upgrades? How fast are they adding on starports versus other barracks? Their production building up, etc., etc., right? So that's exactly what Hero does. He sees, okay, only 1 eBay, only 2 barracks so far, kind of a starport a little bit on the fast end, there's that third base. So he knows exactly what Thorzain's doing, and then he can be very reactive. He says, okay, I'm going to be ahead in upgrades because I'm going double upgrades, right? I'm going to be a little bit behind in third base because I can't take a third base right now because he has medevacs out so fast, right? So I have to delay just a little bit in getting at third base, but that's okay because I'll be ahead in upgrades. I'm going to have a couple Colossi out and great tech with a Twilight Council, Double Forge, Support Bay, etc. And so knowing this, he can basically come up with a plan. Now let's say he saw double engineering base here. He might take his third base immediately right now. If he saw a third command center already done, again, the same thing. He might take his third Nexus immediately right now. As a Protoss player, you want to see what the Terran's doing and then kind of be reactively a little bit greedy. The Terran can kind of pick their build from the start, and they can't really be punished for going fast 3CC or fast upgrades, at least effectively. I mean, a timing may work against them. If they scout out, they should be fine as well. But from a Protoss point of view, if you try to take a fast third Nexus and your opponent went like 5 barracks really early with fast starport, like no eBay, no third command center, it's going to be extremely, extremely difficult to defend, and they're going to have the advantage. So you want to be extremely, extremely reactive. Now, talking about the Terran mid-game mentality. So Thorzain already picked his opening kind of. He said, okay, I'll get 2 barracks, a little bit of a later third barracks, fast starport, quick third, late upgrades. Now, that's a fine opening, but what's very important from a Terran is you have to understand your opponent's opening, right? So ideally, you can scout and see their timings. Now, Thorzain hasn't been able to fly his factory in there. He's placed it more conservatively. He hasn't used the scan either. So he's having a hard time telling exactly what his opponent's doing, but judging from the number of units, and he can click and see the upgrades, he can kind of tell what's going on, right? So he says, okay, he's going to be ahead of me in upgrades. His third is very similarly timed to mine, right? I mean, he's just getting his third up now. The third is halfway done. And, those are basically the 2 things go for the late game. So it's my advantage. Well, because we're having similar timed thirds, and he's going to be ahead of me in upgrades, that means I should have a little bit stronger army right now. And even if it's not stronger in a straight fight because of the upgrades in force fields and Colossi, the advantage I'll have is that because I got a starport quick, I'll have a little bit jump start on medevacs, right? So in this case, ideally, seeing the fact that Protoss went double upgrades, as a Terran player, you probably shouldn't let him get the third quite this fast. With the mobility play, the extra medevacs, you maybe could have tried to do some multi-prong pressure, and if you execute it very well, you might be able to cancel Nexus or at least pick off some probes as 1-year drops. Because early on, a Protoss that opened the fast double forge, the Twilight Council, the support bay, and the robo won't have as many early units. So the more they're spread out, the easier it is to get those drops in and pick off probes, even if you can't actually get a direct engagement. So all in all, you know, Thorzain didn't really delay the third base of the Protoss, and that's going to put him a little bit behind the game. It's not too bad, right? You know, the foods are relatively where you think they would be. Of course, the situation that's bad for Thorzain is the upgrades, right? Protoss is 2-2, starting 3-3, and his 2-2 will finish roughly the same time as the 3-3 the Protoss. So he's basically going to be 2 upgrades behind for the whole game. That's just his disadvantage from the Protoss player playing a little bit greedy on the upgrade route, and Thorzain not punishing it by delaying to third base. Going forward, though, that's not that big of a difference. It still is going to come down to micro and engagement. So we're going to fast forward just a little bit until we get to some of the key engagements. And the one thing that's important, as we're looking for an engagement, from the Protoss point of view, this is your army, right? You have, in the late game, you need to have area of effect damage to deal with a Terran army, right? In this case, it's pretty much the Colossi. He doesn't have any okay, never mind. He has a bunch of storms, sorry. So it's a Colossi and a Storms. So from a Protoss perspective, you need to do 2 things coming into this battle. You need to either A, prevent the Terran army from retreating to let the Colossi do a lot of damage, right? So if you could have a Mothership Core flank from the side, that would be great. Or if you could somehow get your sentries in close enough to force field, which probably is going to happen, or fight in a position where a Terran can't back up. But from a Terran perspective, what's really important here is that you identify where their area of effect damage is, right? So you see the fact that they have, right? You see all these Templar here, and then of course the Colossi and more Colossi. You identify the area of effect damage first, and then what you want to do is you want to make sure that your army doesn't really get into a committed engagement against the area of effect damage until you've neutralized it. So you want to kite backwards with most of your units, and then your Vikings try to find an angle where they can pick off the Colossi without taking too much damage, right? So maybe swing them around, like right here, ideally. More of the Stalkers are at the bottom, so the Vikings ideally could be like right here, right? They could come around here, the Vikings could go that way. And then on the other hand, also you need to deal with the Templar. So that's where you want to grab, you know, 1 or 2 ghosts and say 1 ghost out here and 1 ghost up there, while the rest of your army retreats. But of course you don't want to lose all your ghosts, because the Protoss has 2 ways of winning. One is, like I said, stop the Terran from retreating so your AoE can do damage. Then even if your AoE gets taken out, even if the Vikings kill your Colossi, even if your Templar gets sniped, if they can get their damage out first, the Storms, the Colossi, you're going to win. The other way for Protoss to win is by taking out all the Terran specialist units, right? So if you can get rid of all the ghosts, get rid of all the Vikings, then you have all the time in the world to let your AoE do its damage, because they need those specialist units to get rid of your AoE. So coming into this battle, we can see exactly how each player accomplishes this goal, right? So Thorzain kites backwards, deals with the Colossi with the Vikings. Of course, Storm's very good against Vikings. So this is number 2 way Protoss can win, killing all the specialist units. So he's trying to kill the Vikings here. He does get them all, but he only has a single Colossus left, so it's not quite as ideal. And he tried to take out the Ghosts. He took out 4 of the Ghosts. There's still 3 left. Not quite ideal, but he still has a lot of Templar, so it was almost a net neutral. Terran couldn't get rid of all the Protoss AoE, but Protoss couldn't get rid of all the Terran specialist units either, and Terran didn't lose their main army to the AoE, so it's basically a wash, right? Each side did some damage, and that's how the battle was decided. Now, coming forward for the next engagement, it's going to be the same test, right? It's the micro, which player can get the micro better, and this is really what determines the game. The first battle could have determined the game, but it was a net neutral, and now it's going to be the exact same situation. Can a Terran get rid of the AoE? Well, the single Colossus isn't a threat. Don't worry about that. It's going to come down to Ghost versus Templar. Can he kill the Templar with the Ghost, or can the Protoss, boom, stop the Terran from retreating? It's already done. At this point, right here, right now, Protoss just won the game. The battle hasn't even started yet, and the Protoss just won because he snuck into Mothership from a crazy angle, right? He came in over, I think, where was it? It already died, but it came in from basically back here. In fact, let's back this up just a hair so we can actually see exactly what went on, where it came from. As you see here, the Mothership Core, where's that guy at? Oh, here it is. Watch this. So before the battle even starts, he positioned this guy to flank. Thorzain sees it, but he puts down these double time warps, and right here, it's already decided. For 2 reasons, right? One reason being the Terran can't retreat. Time warps, he can't retreat. But it's even more important is look at where all of the specialist units are. How many ghosts are in this clump right here? 0. Every single ghost is in a section that can't retreat, which means all the specialist units can be easily taken out by the Protoss. So the game's over as long as Hero identifies this, says, okay, I killed these ghosts, keep the Templar, you know, put the Templar along this side, come in this way, make sure some of them don't all get EMP'd, and it's over because he can't retreat, and I'll kill his specialist units, I'll still have Templar left over for Storms, boom, game's over, before the battle even starts, and that's what's really cool. So we're just going to play through the battle so you can see that I'm not lying to you guys, right? And as you see, the ghosts can't retreat, the Templar pull back, try to hit the left side, a few get EMP'd, right, the front three, but now the ghosts are all dead, the Templar are coming in here, and of course the Terran army still can't retreat, Storms finish it off, and that's the game. I mean, Thorzain's not going to leave, there, actually he is going to leave right there. So that was, it's really, really cool, identifying what's important in those battles. Protoss prevent Terran from retreating, Ninja Sentries flanks, a Ninja Mothership Core from the back, positioning. If you can maneuver the armies so Terran gets their back stuck against the wall. All these three things, great for Protoss. Terran, keep your specialist units alive and avoid the committed battle until you can get rid of all their Templar and Colossi. That's a micro war on both sides. What's really awesome there is Hero. They're really cool. Mothership Core flank from the back. That's totally won the game instantly, in addition to the fact that the ghosts were all stuck in that time warp, which is really great for Hero as well. So really, really cool to see that play there. Try that out in some of your games. If you know where the Terran army is, you can set it up ahead of time. Or if you know where the battle's going to take place, try to like predict the way the next minute or so of the army positioning battle will go, and you can win a game just like that as well. That wraps up Hero versus Thorzain game number 1. Take a short break and be right on to game number 2.